All right.
I'm getting in.
Let's go. Let's get into it.
I feel like this episode may actually have the least amount of Nicole words, so you'll love it.
I think they'll love it then. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 78 of The Real Word.
The word is up.
The word is up. There's a lot we could cover today. If this was a normal show, we would definitely be covering
Hopefully we don't lose followers.
The Real Trends just released their Power 1000. What do they call that? Something 1000.
They did. Did you hear who was on the list?
There's a lot of my friends on the list. We're not on the list, by the
Lauren.
way. Lauren was on the list locally or kind of locally. Big shout out to Lisa Chinati, Josh Rubin, Jill Biggs. You guys all made the list. A bunch of people made the list. Great agents and teams. And actually, you just saw the top 250. So if you go top 1,000 in some of those categories, we might have squeaked in. But anyway, that list is out. We could have covered that. But instead, today, all three rackets.
We're going to talk shit.
We're not talking shit. We are doing full-on reviews of three of the, what would you call these, competitors?
Yeah, nominees.
Nominees.
Our fellow nominees.
I want everything to be a competition.
Our fellow nominees.
Isn't that right, Ness? Going all the way back to the water challenge? Everything should be...
Our fellow friends.
I've had a competition with just myself in it before.
Yeah. I know, and we've all had to suffer through watching that video. Actually, multiples. I think you did like a follow-up version of it too.
That was actually one of the most well-watched videos of all time.
Okay, well, no one's listening anymore, so move on.
All right, so we're going to review three of the podcasts from the Podcast Inman Innovator Award nominees. We were nominees, but we want to get to know who the other nominees are in the podcast section.
And we want you guys to know them too.
Absolutely. So we just started from the way Inman listed these out in that order, and we took the top three.
We should say the first three.
First three.
The first three.
We're the top one.
We are.
There's no voting. I don't even know who's going to pick these winners.
I don't either, but it'll be fun to see.
It will be fun. So the first one is Listing Bits with Greg Robertson. Listing Bits, or Greg rather, co-founder of W&R Studios and publisher of Vendor Alley. He talks real estate tech with the people who are shaping it. I believe Greg is into the 50s, or it looks like episode 49 was his last upload. I did notice a lot of these guys, including Greg, are very sporadic with their releases. They're, where ours is every single week.
Yep.
He had one on May 27th and the next one on June 23rd. I listened to the entire June 23 episode, Greg, and I think you did a great job where you interviewed David Etheridge of Savvy Card, and that was a 34-minute.
He likes to be called
podcast.
David. Who is David?
David.
Not Dave.
Did I say Dave?
No, but I'm just saying.
David.
I'm just saying I listened to it too.
And here's my feedback, and then you can give yours.
Oh, gosh.
Right? Is that all right?
Sure.
So I thought Greg's podcast is very niche. Like, you've got to be into real estate tech. I like that. I like very specific audiences for podcasts, granted, do I listen to like a Joe Rogan podcast, which is large scale, which a lot of people can listen to that, and it's got a broad audience? Yeah, absolutely. But in particular, something like this where it is real estate technology, that's going to be a small audience that wants to consume that, so they can go really deep on some of this tech. And I thought the one that I listened to anyways was really good. Now he's bringing these guys on. He's had some great guests, by the way. I think he had the CEO of MoxieWorks. He's had MLS people. He
seems to be big into the MLS.
He had Glenn Kelman on,
deep in MLS.
Who's the CEO of Redfin. He's had some really really good
Well,
guests.
that's probably why it's maybe once a month, because it probably
He's
takes
lining
him,
up guests.
It's taking him a little bit to maybe hammer him down.
And Greg's doing a good job keeping the conversation going with the questions he's asking. He's well prepared for his questions in his interview, so that's probably more sporadic. He's like, he wants to prepare and have great questions. But he's doing a really good job getting interesting guests. So if you're into the real estate tech side, I would dive into that.
I feel like that's the nicest way for you to put it. For
me,
I
was impressed.
No, yeah. See,
I'm not putting it nice. I liked it. I enjoyed
that's
it.
But I'm saying for me, because I'm not a techie person. I actually enjoy a little bit more humor. But I mean, I think we also have established in the past too, I do a podcast, but I am.
He had Mark Davison of 1000 Watt on. That's another episode I want to check out.
I'm not a podcast girl. So
you're not.
I did enjoy, it gave me some things to think about though, because I did enjoy his little intro noise thing. It's sort of like a little cocktail hour. It actually reminds me of, do you ever
Cameron Payne?
Ever listen to WPLR when they have like the Blue Plate special like at lunchtime, and it almost sounds like they're in the restaurant with all these people. Anyway, I enjoyed the intro.
Yes, good intro. Actually, anybody doing a podcast, we're failing on that. Having this like 2-3 second. Joe Rogan has it on his podcast where it's like this sound that you associate the podcast with every time.
Yes. So because I usually watch our podcast, I don't listen to it.
These guys aren't recording. I don't think any of the three, maybe Kevin and Fred, but definitely not listening bits and not gradually then suddenly.
So that was interesting for me to actually experience a podcast. Well, I know that podcasts are listened to, but I'm just comparing it to ours. Because I enjoy sort of like the humor. I really personally though enjoy. I'm a big like facial sort of like body. So I think that's maybe why podcasts aren't my thing, because I need to see people. I like to read facial expressions.
You have a very short attention span, Nicole. So for you to,
that is actually that is true.
That is 100% true. So and if you were to dispute that, then this show would have been over. No,
but I thought he was very smart. I think that you're right. He's very well prepared. I'm just
if you're into talk podcast, that style, and you're into real estate tech, this is going to be a home run for you. Greg, I'm looking forward to listening to some more of your shows. As I'm scrolling through right now, I'm like, ooh, the Cameron Payne one, the Glenn Kelman one. Those are two that come to right up to the top of the list of, and because I'm doing double sessions in the gym right now.
Yeah, perfect.
I've got the ability to crank out some more of these podcasts.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Podcast number 2, racket number 2. So was Greg a racket?
I thought he was great. Yeah, I think everybody so far is.
All right, so
I think we're doing well here.
Podcast number 2, Gradually Then Suddenly with Russ Cafano. Now, Russ, one thing, this isn't criticism, one thing I think they did here, they kind of snuck you in early in the game. I think Russ had
7 episodes. No, I don't even think he's at 10.
It wasn't a lot.
I feel like I remember reading, or maybe that was just the last podcast that I watched. It was number 7, or maybe he was at 8. I think he was around 7 or 8. He didn't have an intro though, so when I hopped into the most recent, I think I was listening. I think I was on Is there Sketcher? Can you listen to podcasts on Sketcher?
So his big thing is the real estate industry. Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Makes you feel like you're in an angry sea of change, and you wouldn't be alone. A lot of people feel that way. It's in the midst of transformation. We've been talking about that. And so he wants to really uncover that transformation through interviewing leaders who are hell-bent themselves on changing the real estate industry.
Yeah.
And he's had some good guests as well. He had talked Remine, which I think Remine's a great tool. I didn't listen to that one. I got through less of Russ's than the other two, just because we only had a week here. Sorry, Russ. I'm gonna dig into some more of yours.
Yeah.
But again, this is another one that's very niche in its content. It's speaking to a particular audience, one that is absolutely leaning towards the tech change happening in real estate. So if you're super geeky like I am, and you're interested in the tech stuff and what's happening, he covers iBuyers, and all that kind of stuff, then dive into some of Russ's content. He only has 8 episodes. They're sporadic.
You don't like that they're sporadic. You keep bringing that up. Do you want these people to be a little bit more structured?
I don't care. I don't care what they do.
You can figure out, like, so you can just know, like, hey, on Tuesday is the new episode.
I'll tell you that you'll retain your audience
when you're more predictable.
Not when you're more predictable, but when you're producing more content. So if these guys can get into a rhythm of interviewing more people more often, it's going to help. We need to do more interviews. I think that our 2 shows that we did an interview where we interviewed the broke agent, go check that one out if you haven't. And where we interviewed Tom Ferry, go check that one out. Those were really good. And they open up, every time, all the podcasts I like, when they're interviewing somebody, it opens up ways I didn't think about things, or it challenges us on our opinions. So I think that's really good.
I hear. I guess, but I also feel like our podcast isn't necessarily that. Like, leave that to the Gregs, but.
Leave that to the Byron Lazine podcast. Go check that one out if you haven't already. All right. And then the next one is Kevin and Fred's Next Level podcast. I actually followed both of these guys on Instagram. They were on Instagram. I couldn't find the other 2 on IG, but I did find Kevin and Fred. I thought they're doing a really good job. They're putting out different types of content, which is pretty good. They're doing some interview, and they're doing some short 5-minute bite
Super
size,
short,
which I thought was smart.
Yep.
Short 5-minute clips. The 5 a.m. call podcast is really good. Because I think that it's a short 5-minute burst, and it's every day. You can count on it.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else you wanted to name drop? Byron Lazine podcast.
Definitely check out the Byron Lazine podcast.
Anything
I'm
else?
surprised that's not on here.
5 a.m.
Oh, I could have been competing against
Anything
myself.
Else? Anything else you wanted to drop in there?
Real World
versus got anything else?
They could have put all 3 of my podcasts on there. It could have just been the Byron Lazine competition.
Oh my gosh.
One of them including Nicole White. That would have been all time. Inman next year. Let's talk about this. Getting back to Kevin and Fred. They have a website, kevinandfred.com. Go check them out there as well. We're going to link all their podcasts anyways up. Here's what I liked.
I think we need a website.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Here's what I liked less about Kevin and Fred. I liked them a lot. What I liked less once I dug deeper was that, and they're upfront about it, they're absolutely selling coaching, and lots of people are selling coaching.
Lots of people are
these
selling
guys
coaching.
And listen, these guys are in real estate. They're in the trenches. So I don't mind that they're selling coaching, and I don't mind that they're monetizing their podcasts through coaching. But that is their goal, more than likely, to produce more content, is to funnel more people into their coaching program, which starts at $1,000.
We have another person though on here that's a coach and doing a podcast.
Well, Tom Ferry, listen, it's smart. It's a smart play. I'm not saying they shouldn't be doing coaching or anything like that. I just haven't heard about these guys until now. So they do events. They do a lot of different things, and it is funneling into their coaching. Coaching is not our thing. We're not doing this podcast for coaching. We're doing it strictly on brand awareness to be able to talk about the industry and share it. So I do think that there can be times when people feel like that they're being sold. Like, we don't have anything to sell. Maybe we could create a T-shirt or something. I don't know. Maybe we're going to start selling rackets.
You could push them to the Byron Lazine podcast,
where I also don't sell anything. So I just keep pushing you to places where you're not going to be sold. That'd be the only thing that I don't know that I would. Not that I wouldn't listen. I'm going to dive back into some more of their content as well.
Yeah, I only really listened to one. It was their most recent. It was only a 5-minute one. I enjoyed it. It seemed a little bit more canned to me than the other podcasts. It seemed like they had.
I think those 5-minute topics, they're outlining.
It sounded like they had sort of maybe even written their introduction, so I could almost tell that like it was a little bit less authentic in my mind.
I don't think that doesn't make it authentic.
And I'm giving my opinion. My opinion. I'm sure that it was. I mean, I need to write some things out though too. Like when I did the 5 a.m. call that one time, I had to write my stuff out because like I just can't, especially that quickly. and I'm not saying that that they're not authentic. It just sounds not as authentic. That's all I meant. But they did go into like their opinions about concentrating on goals and your steps towards the goal. And I mean, some nice little motivational.
If you had to rank these three,
yes,
how would you do it?
So to be honest, I actually, and again, going back to what I stated at the beginning, like you said, I'm not good at attention. I am not a big podcast listener. I actually enjoyed Kevin and Fred the most, mostly because their voices were a little bit more exciting. I felt like there was more inflection. So I kept listening. The other two gentlemen were, in my mind, were a little bit more monotone. It made it really much more difficult for me to want to pay attention to what they were saying. So I'm just going off of that. I like excitement.
And I haven't listened to I've listened to one episode each or two or, somewhere in that, and done a light dive. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think I'm leaning towards listing bits out of these three as my favorite.
Well, his intro was the best.
His intro was good. His flow, his sound is good. The way he's asking questions, the conversation. Yep. I just thought Greg was doing a really good job. Kevin and Fred would be right there, a close second. I think they're doing a really good job branding themselves and getting this out there. And it sounds like there's a really good following in terms of even their events. And Russ, I just don't think you have enough content out of these three, but I think all of them are putting out a good product. I was pleased that, it seems like Inman did a little bit of homework. At least everybody is on a true podcast channel like Apple. So I think that's smart. I don't know how you could called a podcast if you're not on Apple Podcasts. That to me would be blasphemy. Everybody should be required to go out and get an Apple phone. If you're an Android user right now,
he likes Blue Bubbles. So if you're not a Blue Bubble
turn
person,
it
just
in.
don't even listen to him.
And then we can just have one podcast channel.
Oh Lord, that would be the Byron Lazine podcast channel.
Jeez. All right. No communism. All right. That's the wrap up. Next. Yeah. Next week we're gonna do another three.
Do we want to? Should we? Yeah.
What are the next three?
Tom Ferry is in there.
Well, our own is in there. Are we reviewing ourselves?
Yeah, we're not reviewing ourselves. No.
We're not gonna review ourselves.
No. So it's Tom.
100 out of 100. That's what I got there.
So we got Tom Ferry, the real estate sessions with Bill.
With Bill Reiser, and then industry relations, which is Greg Robertson again. Look at you, Greg.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Ooh, so
man.
Maybe this will be a little bit more interesting.
Inman, I could have had all three of them. I could have had the 5 a.m., the Byron Lazine podcast, the Real Word. What else do I have, Ness?
No.
Inman, how do you not put the 5 a.m. call on here? That to me is ridiculous.
Anyway, so I'm excited. Maybe Greg steps it up because now he's got a co-host of Rob. Maybe I'll enjoy that one a little bit more.
Steps it up, Greg. You're doing a great job. Everybody on this list, I'm sure, is doing great. We're gonna.
I didn't mean it like that though. I just meant like.
We're gonna fully review
I like
everybody.
Bickering. I like.
And I think we're going out to Vegas, so hopefully we get to meet some of you guys. Leave us a comment what your favorite podcast is. Besides the Real Word, we get it. That's your fave. Certainly like and subscribe that one. But what's your favorite? Drop those comments in the YouTube channel, please. And have yourself a great day.
That's not how you end it.
Oh, yeah. Keep it real, peeps.
Keep it real.